Hello there. Hello again. This is Andy Nicol, the course tutor for the Perfectly Spoken Advanced course. And in today's lesson, we're going to be looking at the vocabulary of art and colour. Art and colour. Art obviously is a very controversial subject. Many people have very strong opinions about what is art. For example, many people are skeptical about modern art and so on, whether or not, in fact, is art. And I've got a little quote for you here coming up. So in this lesson, we're going to look at the vocabulary of the art world, installations, sculpture, still life, and other words. Also, we'll be looking at idiomatic expressions to do with colour. We've got lots of them in English. Tickle pink out of the blue are just a couple of examples. So, the vocabulary of art, first of all. There's a little exhibition of the pop artist Andy Warhol, who's most famous for his pictures, for example, of Marilyn Monroe with the four faces of Marilyn Monroe. The other very famous one from the Vietnam War with the plane, and it has this big wham, etc. An anti-war painting he painted at the time. And he says that art is what you can get away with. Art is what you can get away with. You will remember from the lesson on expressions with get, to get away with something means to be able to do something without being stopped, caught, or punished. In this case, stopped. So in other words, he's saying that essentially whatever people think is art. Whatever you can convince people is art, is art. So whether or not you agree with that or not, we're going to look at some vocabulary from the art world. So here we go. Vocabulary of art. And we've got the following words. I'm just going to disappear for a moment so you can see this clearly. We've got installation. Installation, that's 4 syllables. Stress on the third syllable. Installation. Installation. Performance art. Landscape or landscape painting. Portrait. Still life. Sculpture. Abstract, again abstract art or an abstract painting. Gallery or art gallery. Self-portrait and an exhibition. Okay, so first one. What do you think is being depicted here? Well, obviously it's a type of painting or a type of art, and it's not representational. It's kind of using a lot of imagination, etc. And this is, of course, abstract art. People like Picasso, a favourite of mine, Kandinsky, the Russian artist, produced abstract art, very controversial as well. Personally, I very much like Picasso's Guernica, for example. As do a lot of people. It's a depiction of the horrific scenes when the German planes dropped bombs on the Basque town in Spain, the Guernica, and targeting civilians for the first time with planes. So this was quite a shocking event, and I think it produced, in terms of Guernica, a fantastic piece of art. Anyway, next one. Okay, so this obviously is an empty example of this. There are no paintings or whatever here. A place where you display your artwork. And the answer is a gallery. So a gallery. Okay, this is inside, obviously inside the gallery. Okay, next one. Okay, so what do we think about this? It's obviously very big, and it's constructed with lots of different materials. It's obviously involves a lot of imagination. There's no, and isn't particularly representational. So what do we think we call this type of art? The answer here is, I'm going to disappear so you can see all the options. The answer here is an installation. Again, installations are art forms which have been criticised a lot by what we call purists. A very famous one is Tracy Emin's bed, where she displayed her unmade bed surrounded by lots of personal objects like a pair of slippers, a cup of coffee, and so on, to depict a particular stage in her life and so on. So some people do not think this is art, and others think it's a fantastically original concept. Whatever you think, that's what we mean by an installation. Okay, let's have a look at some more. Okay, well, in this case, we've got some mountains, grass, clouds, sky, sort of natural scenery here. And this is an example of landscape painting. Trees, forests, lakes, etc. Landscape painting. The artist Turner, the English artist Turner, very famous for this kind of painting. Okay, let's move on. Next one. Okay, so here we've got some people obviously doing some kind of dance. They're wearing masks, some kind of theatre or street theatre or whatever. And this is an example of, pause your recording if you need time to think here. This is performance art, Okay, next one. Okay, so this is a painting of a queen, I believe. I can't remember the name of the subject for the moment. So it's a painting, a depiction of a person. It's obviously fairly representational. And this is a portrait. Okay. Obviously the most famous portrait, I think, in history is, of course, Leonardo da Vinci's The Mona Lisa, which hangs in the Louvre Museum in Paris, although there are some people who believe it's not the original. In fact, it was actually stolen at one time, and they got it back, but some people think they didn't get the original back. Anyway, whatever you think, this is a portrait. Let's move on. Bye-bye to the portrait and say hello to... Oh, what have we got here? Well, this is a depiction, presumably from ancient Rome or ancient Greece, probably an emperor of some description. Usually, most artwork from that kind of period, or even up until maybe a couple of hundred years ago, was of important people, kings, queens, emperors. There was very little art done of ordinary people. That started to change at the end of the 19th century. Anyway, so what do we call this? It's obviously made from some form of stone, alabaster, or whatever. This is a sculpture. This particular type of sculpture with a head and the sort of shoulders and so on, this is called a bust. Okay, so that's sculpture. Next one. Well, I'm back to Warhol again. And this time, you've got the display of his paintings and artwork for people to come and view. So inside the gallery, you can view an exhibition. It's an exhibition of Warhol's painting. Number 8, exhibition. Okay, picture 9 now. Okay, this is not my cup of tea at all in terms of artwork. Depiction of fruit and a basket and a jug at the back, or a pitcher. I don't know whether it's just a jug or a pitcher. Pitcher is something for pouring either wine or water or whatever. So what kind of art is this? Well, there's no movement involved. So we call this a still life, a still life. As I say, it's not my particular favourite. And the last one is obviously the woman is painting herself here. It's a representation of herself. And this is, of course, a self-portrait. Self-portrait. I don't know if any of you out there have tried painting. Have you painted yourself or whatever? I'd be interested if you send in some paintings that you might have done of yourself, scanned or whatever. Anyway, let's move on. We're going to look now at some sentences, and I'd like you to decide which of the items of vocabulary we are looking at. Okay, from the previous section. Okay, so here we go. So complete the sentences. So here are the words again: installation, still life, performance art, self-portrait, portrait, abstract, landscape, exhibition, sculpture, and gallery. Okay. So I think your something is brilliant, it's fantastic, it's wonderful. It looks just like you. It's a very good depiction of yourself. Which word or words fills the gap here? And of course, it's a self-portrait. I think your self-portrait, your painting of yourself, is brilliant. Okay, next one. This is actually a true story. I think it was in an art gallery in Italy that an artist left their artwork in the gallery overnight. A cleaner came in and decided that, didn't realise it was actually art, and she threw it all in the bin, thinking it was rubbish. So like a collection of different things, materials presented in a specific way is of course an installation. An installation. Okay, number 3. The statue of David by Michelangelo is a famous something in Florence. The statue of David by Michelangelo is a famous something in Florence. Well, statue is an example of sculpture. Sculpture. If you go to Florence, of course, you can see this. It's quite an amazing piece of work. Okay, next one. I've never been a fan of something paintings. I find pictures of mountains, trees, and rivers really boring. Okay, so what word represents pictures of mountains and trees is, of course, a landscape. A landscape. Okay, moving on. Same words again. At the Edinburgh Festival, is obviously Edinburgh is the capital of Scotland, where I come from. And in August every year they have an amazing festival where you can see all sorts of shows and artwork and street theatre and so on. So at the Edinburgh Festival you can see some excellent examples of something, including street theatre, dance and acrobats. Well, the answer is performance art. Street theatre, etc. is an example of performance art. Okay, next one. I just don't get something art. I look at a Picasso and I think, what on earth is that? If you don't get something, it means you don't understand it or you don't know what it's about. You can't I give it out. I don't get abstract art. Okay, next one. I recently saw an outstanding something of Frida Kahlo's paintings. So when you display an artist's or a group of artists' work, it is, of course, an exhibition. And where do you go to see an exhibition? Well, the Tate Modern is a very famous one in London. And it's, of course, a gallery, an art gallery, which obviously specializes in modern art. Okay, and last one on this. I learnt to paint something first, you know, bowls of fruit, vases, flowers, sorry, there should be flowers. So when you first start painting, you might find paint bowls of fruit, vases of flower is, of course, still life. Then I moved on to painting people. My first attempt at a something was a painting of my mum. Of course, this would be a portrait painting of your mum. Okay, so as I mentioned before, I said we were going to look at colour idioms. Obviously, colour and art kind of go together. So there are lots of idiomatic expressions related to colour in English. So, colour idioms. The purest and most thoughtful minds are those which love colour the most. But people who appreciate colour are the most thoughtful people, the most pure, most inquisitive, and so on. This is John Ruskin. He's a famous English art critic, social reformer, philanthropist, etc. in the 19th century. Very famous. Okay, so colour idioms then. We've got the following. To have green fingers, if you think about the colour, it kind of is a clue in the colour. A golden opportunity, red tape, out of the blue, and to be tickled pink. Okay, and on the right of the screen here, you can see some definitions. So if you can match the words with the definitions. So start with green fingers. What does it mean to say you have green fingers? Well, green fingers means to be very good at gardening with plants, etc. Okay, if you know someone who's really good at growing vegetables or flowers or whatever, they have green fingers. Okay, I'm a disaster personally. I have to look after plants, they tend to die, so I've definitely not got green fingers. Okay, next one is to have, usually, to have a golden opportunity. A golden opportunity is, of course, E, to have the perfect chance to achieve something. Okay, for example, now is the golden opportunity to speak to your mum about borrowing her car. She's in a very good mood, for example. Okay, it's the perfect opportunity, the perfect chance to do it. Red tape. What is red tape? Some of you may well have experienced a lot of red tape in your lives. And these are bureaucratic rules that stop you from doing what you want, making progress, and so on. For example, the inventor, had faced a lot of red tape in trying to get a patent for his invention or something like that. So you need to go through lots of bureaucracy, talk to the authorities, get permissions, and all these sorts of things. This is what we talk about red tape, lots of bureaucratic rules. Out of the blue. What does out of the blue mean? Well, out of the blue means to appear suddenly and unexpectedly. Okay? My best friend appeared out of the blue yesterday. He you didn't know they were coming. It was highly unexpected. Not just a person appearing, of course. Anything can happen out of the blue. It means it happens suddenly and unexpectedly. Okay, to be tickled pink. Tickled pink, well, we've only got one left, obviously. It's B, it's to be really pleased and grateful for something. I was tickled pink when they gave me the leaving present. I was leaving my work and they decided to give me a present to say goodbye. I was tickled pink. I was really happy. We have another expression in English, chuffed, to be chuffed by something. It means really happy and grateful and so on. Okay, tickled pink. So which idiom is depicted here? Well, obviously this is a feather. Feathers tickle you, and it's the colour pink. This is tickled pink. So we're going to be looking at sentences with these idioms and see if you can choose the correct idioms from the correct colour, I should say, from the box to complete the idioms, complete the sentences. Okay, so we've got green, golden, red, blue, and pink. First example, I had to go through a lot of something tape when I tried to apply for my passport. We had to go through a lot of bureaucratic steps and so on. The implication is it was difficult as well. And the answer is red tape. Lots of bureaucratic rules and so on. Okay, number 2. My cousin just turned up. Turned up is a phrasal verb meaning appeared. Turned up out of the something. I hadn't seen him in over 10 years. So he appeared unexpectedly. He turned up out of, or she turned up out of the blue. Out of the blue. Okay, number 3. Since your boss is so happy with your latest project, okay, he's in a great mood, he's very happy with what you've done, it's a something opportunity to ask him for a pay rise. It's the perfect chance. It's the best moment that you could possibly have. And it is a golden opportunity. A golden opportunity. Next one. My grandfather has got something fingers. His vegetables win prizes every year. Of course, if you're good at gardening, if you grow wonderful vegetables, then you've got green fingers. Green fingers. And number 5, our teacher was tickled something when we told her how much we appreciated her classes. Oh, we love your classes, Mrs. Johnson or whatever. And she's like, oh, thank you very much. That's wonderful. She was tickled pink. Tickled pink. Okay, some more idioms for you now. To tell a white lie. Well, I've told a few of those in my life, I have to be honest. To be in the red. To do something once in a blue moon. ST is just an abbreviation I'm using for something. To do something once in a blue moon. Rose-coloured, or occasionally people say rose-tinted glasses, and to be given the green light. Okay, just have a look at these without me, just so you can concentrate on them. So we've got to tell a white lie, to be in the red, to do something once in a blue moon, rose-coloured or rose-tinted glasses, or to be given the green light. Okay, so if you can start with tell a white lie is C, to speak a very minor untruth in order not to hurt someone's feelings. You've got a friend, you care about them. For example, they arrive at work or at school and they've got a terrible hairstyle that they think is great. And they say, oh, what do you think of my new hairstyle? And you say, oh, it's wonderful. Yeah, you look great. And really you think they look terrible. It's awful. Okay, so you tell a white lie. You tell an untruth in order not to upset someone or hurt their feelings. Okay, next one. To be in the red. To be in the red. Nowadays, in the current economic situation, there are lots of people in the red. And the answer is, lots of people with personal debt, it's A, to be in debt, to be in the red. To do something once in a blue moon. Once in a blue moon. The implication is a blue moon doesn't happen very often. It's E, extremely rarely. Okay? So you might see somebody once in a blue moon, means every 10 years or something like that, or do something once in a blue moon, very rarely. Rose-coloured glasses, normally we say to wear rose-coloured glasses or to see something through rose-coloured glasses. And as I say, you can also say tinted, rose-tinted glasses. And the answer is to view things too positively or unrealistically. You see everything wonderful when in fact it's not. And finally, to be given the green light. To be given the green light. Oops, we have a little mistake here. I've put down D, but it's to be good at gardening. No, to be given the green light means to be given permission to go ahead with something. I'm sorry, there's a little mistake there. To be given permission to continue or to go ahead with something. Okay, so which idiom has been shown here? Well, obviously, this is a traffic lights, and this is to be given the green light. So again, I'd like you to complete the sentences with the words in the box. So we've got white, red, blue, rose, and green this time. So first of all, we only go to the cinema once in a something moon these days. We prefer to stay at home and watch films on cable. So we don't like to go to the cinema. Possibly it's too expensive or it's a bit of a nuisance to go. So you prefer to stay at home. So you go to the cinema very rarely, once in a blue moon. Once in a blue moon. Next one. I almost seem to be in the something. I'll have to find a way to clear all my debts. So if you've got a lot of personal debt, you are, well, not necessarily a lot, but you're in debt. At least you are in the red. In the red. Number 3. My sister told her best friend a something lie. She didn't want to hurt her feelings. Remember, back to my example. It's a white lie. A white lie is a sort of minor lie, not an important lie, something you tend to do to avoid upsetting someone. Okay, next one. When it comes to her boyfriend, Jessica wears something coloured glasses. He can't do any wrong. She thinks he's perfect. She doesn't see any of his defects or any problems in his personality or whatever. She wears rose-coloured glasses. Rose-coloured glasses is the expression. And lastly on this, our boss has just given us the something light to go ahead with our new project. So when you're given the permission to proceed, to go forward, to go ahead, is to be given the green light, the green light. Okay, so next, that's all for today's lesson. In the next lesson, which is lesson 15, will be a review lesson of the last 4 lessons, lessons 11 to 14. And we'll be covering, obviously, the grammar of speculation and deduction, which we looked at in lessons 11 and 13, using modal verbs, for example, must, if you're sure, could, may, or might. If you're not so sure, can't if it's not possible. Also the adverbial expressions, bound to, likely to, unlikely to. The adverbs, definitely or probably. We'll also be looking at the vocabulary of expressions with time, to be out of time, to save time, and so on. And also to revising today's lesson on art and colour idioms. Okay, so I hope that you can join us or connect for this next lesson in the series. and I look forward to speaking to you then. Take care, and bye bye for now.